So a while back, I made a video roasting this Jake Monroe fellow, who I think is just basically Rush Limbaugh dressed as Marilyn Manson, and also addressing the idea if goth can ever be MAGA. The video was not about my personal opinions necessarily, but more just about providing a historical perspective. Today, I brought my partner Britt with me, who is really the one who edits these videos and produces them. And I brought her along to read some comments, some of our favorite comments, and also to talk about some of the interesting analytics regarding that video. So goth was an extension of the British punk movement. If any of goth's original meanings are still alive in the subculture today, then it's worth asking the question, is goth compatible with political conservatism? And by extension with MAGA, because MAGA is extreme political conservatism, even far to the right of anything that Ronald Reagan envisioned. Goth is feminist in nature. Its logic is entirely feminine. Goth is camp. Goth celebrates androgyny. Goth is about being emotionally vulnerable. Goth sees beauty in decay. Every elder Goth that I talked to in the United Kingdom was vehemently opposed to everything that Margaret Thatcher did to the country. Conservatives hate all these things. How can Goth be conservative? So as I mentioned, Britt broke down the analytics of this video, and it yielded some rather interesting results.
Yeah, it did. So we are more established on TikTok than we are on YouTube at this time. And the comments that we received on TikTok versus the comments we received on YouTube were very different. On TikTok, where our audience is about 62% women, the responses were overwhelmingly positive. On YouTube, about 70% of our audience was male, and the responses were a lot more divided. Honestly, in the beginning, some of them were downright hostile. It wasn't until we started seeing creators such as Cat Black and a few others reposting that we started to reach our actual target audience. What's even more interesting, at least to me, is the analytics show that the average watcher stopped watching almost immediately after Charles had said that being a right-wing rebel is a contradiction. So that means a lot of people just didn't even hear the explanation that followed.
I think a lot of the guys that initially posted some of those negative comments, I have the distinct feeling that they don't even really know anything about the history of the goth subculture.
No.
I think that they just think it's Cannibal Corpse or Black Label Society or something, and are completely ignorant about anything that happened in the UK during the 1980s.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate because, I mean, I said that political conservatism, as a definition, it is a celebration of hierarchy. And if you look historically, that is actually what it means.
So I went through some of your comments and I noticed a couple of different reoccurring themes. So I'm pulling a few of them so we can discuss them. This one, that is not the definition of conservatism. Conservatism is a satisfaction with the present, which defends cultural norms because they have worked in the past, Aristotle, or because they are intrinsically valuable, Burke. This video is conservative. The creator cites the founding fathers of goth on proper goth values and rejects the attempt of a radical to refashion goth in his own image. As the saying goes, everyone is a conservative relative to the things that they like.
This is actually one of the more interesting comments, one of the best comments that I think we got, because there's actually a lot here to unpack. And I'd kind of like to go through some things here. First of all, what I said was the definition of conservatism politically. It is a celebration of hierarchy. If you want to understand why a conservative believes the things that they do, as I said before, always look for the hierarchy angle in everything. Trust me, you will find it. But let's look a little closer at what this fellow said. Conservatism is satisfaction with the present. So what about the punk and goth movement in England during the 1980s was satisfied with the present, which defends cultural norms because they have worked in the past? Which cultural norms that worked in the past was the punk and goth movements in England all about? Or because they are intrinsically valuable? What value did punk and goth see in Thatcherism? Please enlighten me on that. And you mentioned Edmund Burke. A lot of people actually mentioned Burke in the comments. Edmund Burke is rightfully considered the founding father of political conservatism. He was an 18th century philosopher and politician, and his overriding concern was containing the spread of the French Revolution. He absolutely despised any kind of revolution of any kind. Why? Because of hierarchy. And he says here, conservatism is about defending things that are intrinsically valuable. Edmund Burke said a lot more than that. I mean, Edmund Burke he talked extensively about the subordination of the masses to the upper classes. He was all about hierarchy. And this last part actually got me. It says, the video is conservative. The creator cites the founding fathers of Goth on proper Goth values and rejects the attempt of a radical to refashion Goth. But Jake Monroe isn't a radical who's refashioning anything. He's a reactionary. He's basically trying to take what was a radical movement and make it conservative. That's not radical. And also what you're saying here is that I'm trying to refashion Goth in my image by going back to what the founders of Goth said. You're confusing conservatism with traditionalism, I'm afraid.
No, that's when you're getting.
Yep, and that's exactly the next point. Conservatism is not the same thing as traditionalism. That's a theme that we encountered over and over again in the comments. Refusing to buy a new coat until the old one wears out, that's not conservatism. Staying attached to the way things are, often for good reason, that's traditionalism. But conservatism is a celebration of hierarchy.
I believe some of the confusion lies with the current political parties that identify as conservative, because it's not just the Republican Party. These different political parties combine conservatism and traditionalism for different things, because each political party is like multifaceted with different ideologies put together. At least that's what I've picked up on. Like with modern politics, like they're constantly evolving and changing. The two main parties we have now have evolved from what they originally were.
So one of the reasons why conservatives often adhere to tradition is because they look at history through rose-colored glasses, and they only pick and choose things that are particularly convenient to their ideology. But yes, conservatism and traditionalism do sometimes go hand in hand.
Here's another comment. No, conservative is about small government, and liberal is about big government. Republican is about lower taxes, and lib is higher taxes. You do not have the right to determine who is and is not Goth. Going to check out this guy's channel and give you a thumbs down, Mr. Gatekeeper.
So he means by this guy's channel, he means he's going to the Jake Monroe.
No, you.
Channel. Oh,
they went to your channel to dislike you.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Aren't you sad?
Yeah, very. God, all human groups gatekeep to a certain extent, you know. But anyway, going back to what this guy says, you always hear that refrain. Political conservatism is about less government and lower taxes. But let me fix that for you. It's less government and lower taxes for rich people. Conservatives typically want all kinds of taxes and all kinds of regulation on the working classes. What that means is that rich people shouldn't have to pay taxes because it's beneath them. They've always felt that, from the aristocracy to the robber barons to today's tech oligarchs. They do not believe in paying taxes. And they don't want any regulations on what they do. They want to be able to ride roughshod over the rights of everybody else. So that's what they mean by lower taxes and less government. So there, fixed it for you.
So yeah, while we're on that too, like one thing that's like invaluable proof that conservatives don't actually want small government is the fact that abortions are still a talking point for them, because pro life is literally governing women's bodies. That is more government. Like, that is a dead example. All right, next comment. Isn't goth about being counterculture? Settings MAGA aside, conservatism is far more counterculture than being on the left. It's not 2006 anymore. All the corpos and universities and political establishment is on the left.
What was in 2006? Why do they use that as?
I don't know.
I know, that's very odd.
I've been wondering over and over again, because I'm like,
It's not 2006 anymore.
I'm like, what happened in 2006? Like, that was before
Yeah.
Obama was elected. So we had a Republican president at the time.
I don't know. Maybe the Obama. What they're
That was
talking about?
2008.
Yeah.
I think they just think 2006 is a long time ago.
So again, this idea that it's counterculture to be against wokeness, right? That's what this all boils down to. The fact that women and minorities and the LGBT community, society has made certain gains in the way that they're treated. So you're arguing that there needs to be a counterculture against that?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense to me. And also this idea of corpos and universities being left wing, so therefore being against the left is actually rebellion. So anyway, let's break that down. The idea that corporations will occasionally market to the LGBT community or to minorities because they want their money, that's something that you push back on. That's cause for rebellion.
And that's actually, like, this year in particular, I saw a lot fewer companies actually doing that.
Right, because of Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the amount of companies that have abolished their DEI policies, like Target being a big one.
Yeah, but how does the fact that minority groups are included a little bit more in society, that requires a backlash? That's crazy to me. And also a word about universities being left. A little historical context here. Before the 1960s, universities were bastions of right-wing thinking. One of the ways, a lot of people don't know this, is one of the ways that big industrialists would break strikes is they would go to university campuses and get a lot of right-wing college students and arm them and have them go attack the working class. So in the past, universities were right-wing institutions, and a lot of economics departments still are. But the idea that you have some classes about Black history, or some classes about the history of the working classes' contributions to society, or classes on African American history, the idea that you need a rebellion against that, that's crazy to me.
Also, it's clear that this person is one of the ones that didn't make it past that 4-minute 46-second mark.
Yeah,
because you addressed this later in the
I
video.
certainly did. Again, they quit watching after 2 minutes.
I love this one. I personally do not think politics has a place in goth subculture. I thought the point was to bring people together for what they have in common. Leave politics at the door. Naturally, I would think people in the goth subculture have a myriad of opinions that wouldn't even fit into a particular category anyway. Why must we put everything into a box? Goth itself is one thing only. Categories of goth simply do not exist unless you really want it to in your head.
Goth is only one thing only, and yet it can seemingly mean anything. So politics shouldn't be a part of goth, and yet goth was an extension of British punk. So how can goth be apolitical? The other thing is, she says, I personally don't think politics. I thought the point was to bring people together for what they have in common. Well, what is it that you think we all have in common then? Goth is just fans of Wednesday Addams or something? I mean, what specifically do you think we all have in common then?
Yeah, like that was all I could think of when I was reading it. Like,
Right. We just like Halloween.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Halloween Club.
Mm.
All right, so we're going to circle back to the whole gatekeeping thing because I love this topic. Goth is an aesthetic and a preferred taste in music. Anything else is gatekeeping by condescending people who simply want life to work the way they want it to. Hindu, fascist, conservative, MAGA, Antifa, ICE agent, Muslim, Catholic, Pentecostal, all of it can be goth. If you don't like someone's politics or beliefs, it doesn't make them either not or what you want a person to be. Just because you fell for the social experiment funded by Soros doesn't mean you are better than others, nor if a person supports someone you don't like. Religious and political gatekeeping is decided within those groups. Doing it to a subculture just means you're a huge poser that is throwing a hissy fit because of how thoroughly you were indoctrinated.
So it's funny. What does George Soros have to do with anything about this? I mean, that's like a Fox News talking point. How old is this person?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he's a boogeyman on Fox News and right wing talk radio. Not sure what he has to do with goth. And then a fascist or an ICE goth? Boy, that'd be one hell of a guy, wouldn't it?
What, Van Helsing?
I guess. So I would ask this person this: if you are a political conservative, then what is it that you hear in goth music that you like? What is it that you hear in Bauhaus, Susie and the Banshees, The Cure, etc., that you think is compatible with your beliefs? See, this is I don't believe for a minute that this guy even knows what goth is.
No, here, I figured it out. ICE agent, Van Helsing, Bela Lugosi's dead. That's right. That's what it is. Those damn vampires.
Right.
That's the thing that annoys me. When you're talking about the history of something and you're talking about a category, because things do have categories, people consider it gatekeeping just because they don't like that they weren't included in that category. And gatekeeping is, you can't be goth because you're wearing the wrong lipstick or something like just arbitrary like that. I think gatekeeping is not a bad thing. We've seen with like the skinheads what happens when you don't gatekeep and you just let whatever go on in your subculture.
Right. The original movement was about working class pride, and about 30% of the original skinheads were in fact black. Right. It wasn't until the National Front infiltrated it that it became a neo-Nazi organization. So I mean, every social group draws, a ring around it and puts up barriers in some way.
All right, so here's another one. I'm a goth from the 1990s, and we hated everything that you are calling woke. We hated censorship, racism, and all the other things that the modern left represents. We didn't change. We would have been called liberals back then, and that is now called right wing today.
Wow. So how exactly is the left racist? I mean, it seems to me that it's the Trumpers who are the ones that are erasing Black history and Native American history from the textbooks and the classrooms. It's the right that's banning books. It's the right that is gerrymandering districts to wipe out the black vote. It's Trumpers on Fox News who are cheering whenever, the police brutalize minorities.
It's ICE agents kidnapping children.
That doesn't even make any sense. It's kind of similar to how we noticed things like people bringing up this idea, which is also a Fox News talking point, that, the Democrats were the party of slavery and, Republicans were the party of freedom and that kind of thing. But political parties and political ideologies do change. I mean, what's left out of this equation is the fact that there was this guy during the 1960s named Barry Goldwater who really flipped the script. He is the one who basically brought a lot of racism to the Republican Party, and it was also the start of the Southern strategy and all of that. So all of those conservative Democrats, all those Dixiecrats, when Barry Goldwater got the nomination, they all flipped to Republican, which is where they still are today.
So I picked a couple of these just for fun. Do what you want, have opinions you want, left or right, or anything in between. This is all bullshit anyway. Policing who is goth and who isn't, making up rules and limitations is probably the least goth thing you can do. Be antisocial. Listen to dark wave / gothic rock. Wear black. Watch serial killer documentaries. Have interest in the macabre, occult, etc. because you want it. Not because that's what either the cocky guy in full goth makeup or some pompous prick wearing the Cure t shirt online says is goth. Which, by the way, is irony considering Robert Smith himself said they're not a goth band.
Bands associated with the goth subculture always deny that they're goth. It's all part of the shtick, and I've explained that in other videos. Wow, pompous prick in a Cure t-shirt. I don't want to be Dr. Goth anymore. Can we rebrand?
LMAO, I think claiming to be Dr. Goth is even more cringe than MAGA. I don't even think he's American, Count Chocula.
Can we rebrand again? I think I might like Count Chocula even better than pompous prick in a Cure t-shirt. We might get in trouble with General Mills, though they probably got it copyrighted. But anyway, I have never claimed with this Dr. Goth thing, I have never claimed to be like some major authority on goth. I did a lot of research in England, and I wrote a doctoral dissertation on the goth subculture as it existed in Britain during the 1980s. And I like it, and I stand by everything that I wrote, but I don't consider myself to be some kind of ultimate insider. I never have. And that just brings us to a couple of comments that were my favorites that I wanted to address. The first one was somebody told me to shut up because I'm not Mick Mercer. You're right. I'm not Mick Mercer. I have told anybody who will listen that if they want to learn as much as they can about goth, to get a hold of the Mick Mercer books. Mick Mercer was there from the very beginning. He's the only music journalist that has really covered it from its inception. And I have plugged Mick Mercer in every video that I've done.
You even call him our patron saint.
Exactly. He is the patron saint of goth. So if you want to learn about goth, definitely get a hold of his books. And I corresponded with Mick Mercer extensively when I was writing my dissertation, and I thanked him profusely in my introduction.
You mean your dissertation that was one of the first that was written about goth music and subculture in an academic sense?
Yep, that one.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So you're a published scholar who has talked about goth music and subculture?
I am.
Okay, so that does actually give you some like credibility on what you're talking about?
I hope so.
Okay.
Another one of my favorites was goth is conservative because the Ramones were fans of Ronald Reagan. You know, the Ramones really do have some tunes that are real bangers that I really like. I don't think anyone could ever think that they were the sharpest tools in the shed.
They used 3 chords.
And they, yeah, they did. They were caught up in this Reagan individualism thing for sure. Their music was a little empty, I think, honestly, and I think the British punk movement was more politically charged.
Oh, and then they would bring up Johnny Rotten.
Yeah, and he said some anti-woke, some stuff against being woke. And then didn't he like later recount and clarify that he's not a Trumper?
Oh, see, that part I don't know. Oh. What I do know is that like throughout the 90s and 2000s, he was in commercials for PG Tips. And it's been well documented that he was just kind of there for a fashion show. Like, that's not somebody I would take seriously, to be honest.
Another one of my favorites was that Vlad the Impaler was goth, and therefore goth is conservative. That was one of my very favorites. I love the logic here. So Vlad the Impaler was a medieval aristocrat, and he inspired the Dracula novel so therefore Goth is conservative. That's so awesome.
I feel like that goes in the same line of our theory of Van Helsing
Right.
killing Bela Lugosi. So that makes
right. Another favorite. Ayn Rand inspired Anton LaVey to write the Satanic Bible, and so therefore Goth is conservative. Do you ever recall like Susie and the Banshees, Bauhaus, The Cure, Alien Sex Fiend, Red Laura, Yellow, any of these groups being associated with Satanism?
With Satanism? No.
That's more of a heavy metal Marilyn Manson
that's
thing.
way more of a metal thing.
But I do believe that Ayn Rand was the Antichrist.
Yeah.
And her philosophies are just basically all stolen from very vulgar interpretations of Friedrich Nietzsche anyway. But yeah, the idea that you basically get rid of everything that makes us human, and voila, you have the Ubermensch, the Superman. If you just get rid of everything that's human and go back to being an animal and worshiping hierarchy, yeah, I don't think that that's really compatible with goth or punk.
Well, you know the Peter Murphy song, Who is John Galt? It's not really, it's not real. He can't really hurt you. So I think understanding where goth comes from, like musical influences, cultural context, and ideas that surrounded its emergence are important.
I mean, chances are, unless you actually lived in England during the early 1980s, goth existed, long before you were aware of it. It probably even existed before you were even born. So it was a thing before you knew what it was. It was a movement that coalesced around a certain set of music and cultural values. And it's not just anything you want it to be.
So, do you have any homework for our audience today?
Yeah, please check out my videos on TikTok about goth and feminism, goth origins, goth and camp, and we're going to work hard to actually, move them over to YouTube as well. Get the Mick Mercer books by all means. Check out a book called Subculture: The Meaning of Style by Dick Hebdige. If that doesn't convince you that subculture is about rebellion, then I don't know what will.
And we'll provide a couple of links to these books in the video description as well.
Yeah. And I'm totally serious about a rebrand. Next time you see us, we're either going to be Pompous Prick in a Cure t-shirt or Count Chocula. So stay tuned.
Lord help me.
Don't be scared. I'm the super sweet monster with the super sweet new cereal, Count Chocula.